It's been a wild offseason so far, Dub Nation. Wild might be an understatement. It's just been pure crazy. And what's adding to the lunacy is Kevin Durant being a realistic possibility as a trade target to come back to the Golden State Warriors after being away for 3 years. I'm going to break that down. I'm going to briefly talk about DiVincenzo and, more importantly, the Warriors' depth chart, which right now is thin in lieu of the fact that the Warriors have not been making aggressive moves in the offseason free agency market. The why of that is a mystery. The only thing I can come up with is they want to save money. And they have plenty of that, by the way. And that's why I'm hosting a live show today, because I'm going to answer anything you are curious about. I would happily debate any of you in here who want to take Team Billionaire and defend saving $100 plus million over 3 years for a group that just raked in $800 million last year alone. I don't agree with it. They could have afforded Gary Payton II. They chose not to. Numerous members of the Warriors organization said, quote, "It stung that they decided to let Gary Payton II go." I'm going to talk about that and so much more. There are still some great free agents out there. The breakdown is next. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. I'm Cyrus Saatsaz. You can follow me on Twitter at DogSurfRoadshow. I'm recording this at my mom's house in Napa, showing some support for the family as we're grieving because of the loss of my stepfather. The acoustics in this setting are kind of weird. I'm looking forward to hearing it back later on. Maybe I need to change a room up in terms of where I record this. But regardless, there is a lot going on with the Golden State Warriors. And I'll get right to the chat. I'm not afraid to tackle any questions or comments you have to throw at me. AB Prep Boy 33, for example, writes, in terms of spending on big free agents, having billions of dollars makes you able to afford it, but there are only so many exceptions you're allowed to use. I don't understand the exceptions part. The Warriors legally could have offered Gary Payton II 4 years, $49 million at the most. They could have offered 3 years, well over the $27 million that the Trailblazers offered. Ian Mann writes, my condolences, thank you. There's been just a lot of crap going on with my family. I do appreciate it. I will not let it bleed into this program in any regard. I think the quality of my stream is actually a lot better today. So you're seeing my ugly mug a lot easier for the YouTube viewers. So you're welcome for that, I think. But let's get right into the Kevin Durant thing, all right? So speculation started to emerge early yesterday morning. Mark Spears was on ESPN radio, and he was quoted as saying that the Warriors are one of the teams who are actually pursuing Kevin Durant in free agency. Now, granted, I'm guessing half the NBA and half the world is pursuing him. There's speculation. This is just speculation. I've not deemed this to be fact that Kevin Durant is house hunting in Toronto. I know the Raptors are reportedly one of the teams that are going after Kevin Durant. I don't even know if that story is true. I don't know if it has relevancy. Toronto is a beautiful city in general. Again, there were teams like the Phoenix Suns reportedly interested because Kevin Durant listed them and the Miami Heat as two teams he has listed as preferred trade destinations. But the Brooklyn Nets hold all the cards. And as the story has unwinded, it's becoming more and more apparent that if this trade happens, that Kevin Durant would not be opposed to it, and neither would the Golden State Warriors. In fact, I'm going to play the soundbite real quick of this was Mark Spears, again, of ESPN, talking about the Warriors' interest in Kevin Durant. So this was on the radio program, and this is via the ESPN Radio Twitter account. So here is Mark Spears.
The one team I'm telling you guys is keep an eye on is the Golden State Warriors. Golden State could have the best package for both parties. Jordan Poole, Jonathan Kuminga, All-Star Andrew Wiggins, and former number 2 pick James Wiseman. What the Nets want is they want a young all-star or perhaps a future all-star. They're all under 30. They also want picks, maybe the ability to swap picks. But if you can get those 4 players, if I'm the Nets, I'm very, very happy. And for Kevin Durant, the Warriors, they're very familiar with, and vice versa. Like, he knows where to live in San Francisco. He knows how the offense works. He knows he can win a championship there. Yeah, he and Steve Kerr would probably have to figure some things out. But with each passing day that this carries on, I've heard the Warriors have interest in terms of a young haul, in terms of people being happy on both sides. To me, the Golden State option is the best option.
And, the more I think about this, I honestly did not think this was an option, especially given I don't think Kevin Durant wants to go back to the Warriors. At least that was not his initial thought. But since this story broke yesterday morning, and real quick, I want to get to some of the comments here before I continue on. Tuish Sharma, I hope I pronounced that correctly, writes, "Nice shirt you're wearing." Thank you. For the YouTube viewers, I'm wearing one of Rick Barry and I's new clothing line. We are launching apparel, sporting my pool party shirt on Independence Day. Happy 4th of July, everyone. And these shirts are available. There's 3 different styles. This is the pool party one. There's different colors, men and women, hoodies. There's a Rocco surfing shirt. There's a Rick Barry jersey t-shirt. Just go to my pinned tweet on my Twitter account at Dog Surf Roadshow. The links are there for the Believe store to buy those. But thank you so much. And I'll address a lot more of these comments in a moment. Kevin Durant, as weird as it sounds, does make a lot of sense. And I'll tell you why for 2 reasons. One is Joe Lacob loves him. I tweeted this, I think yesterday, that Kevin Durant is Joe Lacob's white whale. This is a metaphor, an allegory to Moby Dick, meaning it's the true trophy that he really wants. It's the true prize that he never wanted to see go and did go. And the fact that Kevin Durant is just entering a 4-year guaranteed deal means that if the Warriors acquire him, he's not going anywhere. Now, since these rumors started, and that's number one, that's the first reason why I think there's actually a legitimate probability of this. The second reason is that all of the mental issues that Kevin Durant brought with him to the team, whether it was attacks against him personally, for title hunting, for using the Warriors for his legacy, for jumping to a team that beat him just to win championships of his own. I think he's at a point now in his career where even he realizes he's not going to carry any team to a title by himself. He's not going to be that alpha dog. I cannot emphasize enough. I really wish Kevin Durant would just delete that damn Twitter account of his so that all these messages stop going into his head. I don't know why he entertains the whole platform of social media, given how much negativity is on there, especially directed toward him. But with that said, if he came back a second time, there's an opportunity for everyone to be happy because Stephen Curry's got his finals MVP. His legacy now is locked and secure, top 10 all time. Kevin Durant, for the sake of argument, if he comes back, the Warriors are immediate heavy title favorites. Right now, I still think they might be the favorites, but they just gave away their entire bench. They just gave away every veteran that provided depth for that team. And that depth is why they won a world championship. That is why the Gary Payton II loss hurt so much, because I cannot emphasize enough, the Golden State Warriors do not beat the Boston Celtics without him. I don't know if the Warriors beat the Memphis Grizzlies without him. John Morant got injured just 1 game after GP2 got hurt. GP2 was the jaw stopper. When Ja got hurt, you suddenly didn't need Gary Payton II that much. You don't need Gary Payton II for the Mavericks, obviously. That is just such a lesser opponent. No disrespect to the Mavs fan base and the team, but they're on a completely different level. I never sweated for a moment in that series. They needed him in that Celtics series. The Celtics got better. They added Malcolm Brogdon. I believe, I hope I got that name right. And they added Danilo Gallinari this offseason. All that did was make that team substantially better. What have the Warriors done? They gave up Gary Payton II, who was a vitally important defensive piece, who offensively was grossly underrated. And they gave up Otto Porter Jr., who was starting in the NBA Finals, who gave them size at 6'8", who gave them three-point shooting, who gave them smarts. And they let him go for 2 years, $12 million to the Toronto Raptors. And they haven't replaced them. Now, DiVincenzo, I'm going to break him down because I want to bring on an expert to really understand just how good or maybe not good of a player he is. Initial reports, everyone I'm talking to, they're telling me they're super excited about him, but there are flags. He's injury prone. He's missed a lot of time, and he's not a great outside shooter. Look up his stats. The dude shoots below the Mendoza line of what you want for a three-point shooter, which is 33%. So I'm not like giddy and excited about DiVincenzo, at least not yet. Now, the Warriors do have a strong core depth of youngsters. But the problem with that is that Jonathan Kuminga is still 19. And now you're putting a lot of pressure on this kid to play 25, 30 minutes a game and not just play and learn and develop, but actually contribute. Because if Jonathan Kuminga and if Moses Moody do not step up considerably in year 2, and this is a gamble. And I guess my thing is, I don't know why the Warriors thought it was prudent to save $15 million this year, which is what they did by not, would have been the extra cost of Gary Payton on top of the salary cap number. It was the luxury tax penalty for this year would have been approximately $15 million. I don't understand for an organization that, again, raked in over $800 million. And again, for anyone defending the Lacob and Goober ownership group for their frugalness here, show me one report, just one report out there that shows that they are hurting for cash, because there are a lot of reports out there that show that their investment into this Warriors organization has returned 10 to 12 times what they put in. That throughout all those dynasty years, the 5 straight, they're still in a dynasty, but during the 5-year run where they made the finals 5 straight years, they were raking in hundreds of $1 million in profit each of those years. They own prime real estate in San Francisco. I know they still owe money to the bank, but I'm sorry, I don't think the bank is sending out hitmen to get that money back. They're fine. They chose to save money for who knows what reason. I hope it's not to reinvest in the entertainment side of their new business venture, because they're sure as heck not reinvesting into players. And it just, to me, it is a lot, and it's an unnecessary risk to suddenly rely on Jonathan Kuminga and to rely on Moses Moody, one of whom is only 20 and one of whom is only 19, to repeat as a world champion. DiVincenzo, again, could be great, but he is just another one of these unproven youngsters. And so the Warriors need depth. And when I come back, I'm gonna list to you some free agents that are out there. I'm just reading all the chat comments right now, and they don't like, for example, Solomon's Tech writes the Warriors won without GP2. BS. They could not have won without the Celtics. You easily forget that they lost game 2. I'm sorry, that they lost game 3 because they didn't play him. When Gary Payton II plays, they win time and time again. His plus minus was astronomical because every time he played, they did great things. So I strongly disagree with you, Solomon's Tech. I'm sorry. Do not agree. I think that is just not an accurate statement in any regard. So let's see. Horace Williams Jr. writes, dude, calm down. Just because they have money doesn't mean they have to spend it. That is it. That is where you and I disagree on philosophy. In my opinion, if you are rich enough to buy a sports franchise, you should be investing to win, not buying it as a business venture. Okay? There are plenty of other things in the world you can invest in where the emotions of millions upon millions of people are not riding on your every decision. People love their sports teams. Sports owners have to recognize that. And they're not recognizing that here. I am happy for Gary Payton II. I am happy for Gary Payton II. But the young guys could have played even if you re-signed Gary Payton II and to a lesser extent someone like Otto Porter Jr. Because if you want to repeat as a world champion this year, you cannot be giving the core of Steph, Clay, and Dre heavy regular season minutes. They need to be playing 25 to 30 minutes a night, not playing back-to-backs, and that's where all those extra minutes would come in. Now the core, Stephen Curry turns 35 next year, Clay and Dre turn 33 next year, and now you're expecting them to carry a really heavy burden to repeat as the world champion. Don't like it. I don't like it. But I first got to pay some bills here. We do have sponsors for the show, and I'm running really late right now. And that first sponsor is BetOnline. They are your number one source. More specifically, BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports information. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs and Major League Baseball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events. I get all my lines from them. You could check in on MMA, boxing, golf, tennis. Wimbledon is going on. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, it is where the game starts.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. For your second listen, get up to date on the latest news and rumors in the NBA in just 30 minutes every day with Locked On NBA. Locked On NBA, your daily update in just 30 minutes. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Twitter at DogSurf Roadshow. We're recording this live today on the 4th of July. So let's go. So first of all, just to wrap up the Kevin Durant thing, and I'm seeing all your comments and whatnot. And honestly, the last show with Larry Krueger, I really delved into the value, the importance of Gary Payton II, and just the fact that I think ultimately this team just did not value him. And it's one of those, you just got to agree to disagree. I'm sorry. To me, like Gary Payton II was a vitally important variable for this Warriors team winning a world championship. I don't think Myers and Kerr agreed. What peeves me is that I love this player and that the Warriors were saying repeatedly that they were going to run it back or try to run it back with the same players. I don't think they tried hard enough. I'm sorry. So anyways, but Kevin Durant, if he comes back, the Warriors are the heavy favorites to win the world title. And again, it's a win-win for everyone because let's say the Warriors go back to the NBA Finals as expected with Kevin Durant. Without him, I don't know right now. I don't know. KD gets you a trip back to the NBA Finals. Kevin Durant might win a third Finals MVP. That alone would add to his legacy tremendously. When you look at the list of players that have 3 Finals MVP awards, it is small, it is slim, and it is elite. Everyone could be happy. Now, the reports from the Golden State Warriors and Marcus Thompson, who, look, I've had my critique of him as a journalist, but as a columnist, especially someone connected with his team, he has tremendous sources. And Stephen Curry told him that they would embrace Kevin Durant. He's added that the Warriors superstars, and that means Stephen Curry and whoever else Stephen Curry is talking with, because Marcus Thompson's primary source is Stephen Curry. That is why Marcus has the following he has, why he's in the position he's in. Him and Steph are close. I don't doubt that. They've been talking. They're entertaining the idea of the reunion. And Kevin Durant's starting to entertain it. Now, the Warriors aren't pressing for this. It's not like the Warriors are coming out saying, we want KD. Like, do whatever it takes. That's not what's going on here at all. They're not pressing the front office to get Kevin Durant. They're fine defending this title with Andrew Wiggins, with Jordan Poole, and with the likes of Kuminga and Moody, who are now vitally important for that bench. And again, they're unproven. That is my only issue with relying on young people to defend a world championship. It's just when the stakes are this high, I just don't agree with cost cutting. I'm sorry. You could sit here and tell me all you want. A lot of people have come at me and said they're shattering records for payroll, for player expenditures. True. But you know what else they're shattering? Revenue. The over $800 million, that's just shy of $1 billion that this organization pulled in just in this last year alone, is an NBA record. Now, if your payroll expenses start to hurt the margins, the bottom line, I can sympathize with you. But when you're flush with cash like they are, and believe me, I've spoken with sources, and on tomorrow's show, Eric Prisbell of the Sports Journal who has done extensive reporting covering the Golden State Warriors and their finances, particularly. He's going to come on the show to talk about that some more, because maybe this is just a debate of classic ruling class versus working class. And I could see that. I am not a team ruling class person. I'm team proletariat all day, every day. You know who the proletariats are in the NBA? The players. Gary Payton II deserved that money. And just to finish up on Kevin Durant, though, if he comes back, the Warriors are going to repeating as world champions. The Warriors will likely three-peat as world champions. That's the only thing they really haven't accomplished yet in this dynasty. For the people who are opposed to that, I get it if you have to give up Jordan Poole and Jonathan Kuminga. I get that. But I did see a trade proposal. Some random person tweeted this, and I can't find their account right now. That really intrigues me. And I'm going to read that trade proposal to you in just a minute, because it is fascinating. All right, it is. It's actually it's a trade proposal that if there's just one little tweak to it, I'd support. But first, I give love to a longtime sponsor of this program. And I love this sponsor, especially because all they do is save you money. And that's Rock Auto. Folks, you all have to drive. And we're all getting ripped off at those pumps. Those gas prices are insanity. So you got to save money where you can. And that's where Rock Auto comes in. I just had to go to my local auto parts store the other day to buy a car battery, for example. And I know if I had the luxury of waiting with Rock Auto, I just didn't have it that day. But for pretty much any other car part, I'm going to Rock Auto to save myself a lot of time and money. Why choose to spend 30%, 50%, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? An example being a Honda Odyssey fuel pump at a chain store, $353. From Rock Auto, it's just $216. They're a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Their prices are reliably low for every customer. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck, right? Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box, so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. I want to read this comment real quick just to highlight how a lot of people just don't get it. So Playhard writes, Wiseman, Kuminga, and Moody need more time to prove themselves. With GP2, he will eat lots of minutes. Much better to develop the young guys now than bench them again next season. I wholeheartedly disagree with you for two reasons. One is, if you have GP2, you don't have to cut into Kuminga and Moody and Wiseman's minutes, because the core of this team, all right, Stephen Curry turns 35 next year. That's how old Michael Jordan was in his last year in the NBA. Klay Thompson turns 33 next year. He doesn't have a lot of miles on his tires, but I still don't want him putting in 35 a night playing back-to-backs. All right, Draymond Green turns 33 next year. He missed 2.5 months because of a back issue. And I don't want to see him playing back-to-backs or 35, 40 minutes a night during the regular season. Even Kevon Looney, who is relatively young, I believe he's 27, he's had health issues his whole career until last season. I don't want to see him playing 35, 40 minutes a night. I want my stars rested for the postseason. I want them fresh for the postseason. And during the regular season, you can play Wiseman, Kuminga, and Moody with GP2 and rest the regulars. I don't want Andrew Wiggins to be worn down for the postseason. That was the entire reason why this last year I was advocating for the Warriors to add a big, because I just don't want that wear and tear building and adding on the regulars who you're really going to be relying on in the postseason. You could have done both, is my point. It's not an either or. And secondly, when you're trying to repeat as a world champion, when you're defending a world championship, I'm sorry, I don't agree that is the time to develop young players. That's just not the time. The stakes are so high to achieve a level of greatness seen so very few often in the NBA, in the history of the game, and you're picking now to develop young players? just strongly disagree with that take. Now, the Kevin Durant thing, just to wrap it up, I don't support acquiring Kevin Durant if it means Jordan Poole and or Jonathan Kuminga are on the plate. I don't like it. Okay, that's just not a Jordan Poole is invaluable to me. Invaluable. Like, I mean, he proved himself, and Jordan Poole is someone who's already proven himself. So I don't want to lose him. The pool party is real. I'm wearing this shirt right now. Again, just go to my Twitter account. It's a pinned tweet. You can buy this shirt. Rick Barry and I's clothing company. Jump on board. The pool party is raging all summer, folks. I don't want to lose the pool party. And I don't want to lose Jonathan Kuminga. Jonathan Kuminga has shown enough to me that someday, I don't know if it's going to be this season, but that someday he could be a superstar in the NBA. So I don't like the idea of losing him for a 34-year-old Kevin Durant. I just don't like it. So, but I did see this trade proposal, and it was from a really random Twitter account. And let me share that for you. Hold on, let me get this set up here. And it's a 3-team trade actually, but I love it. I love it except for one thing, and I'll share with you in just a minute. Because the one thing with the Kevin Durant trade proposals that people are missing is the fact that you might not only get Kevin Durant back, you might also get Seth Curry back. I would love to have Seth Curry playing in the backcourt with his brother. So for those of you watching on YouTube, you can see the visual here. All right. And for those of you listening, I'm going to describe it verbally what this trade proposal entails. In this 3-team trade with the Golden State Warriors, the Brooklyn Nets, and the Dallas Mavericks, the Golden State Warriors would get 2 players, Kevin Durant and Seth Curry, who, again, I would love in a Warriors jersey. That would be full circle and then some. Because Seth is a former Warrior, and you know how much love those brothers have for each other. And Steph just lost his brother-in-law, Damian Lee, to the Suns. Bring Seth back. I want him back. I would love that. Now, the Brooklyn Nets will get a huge haul. This includes Tim Hardaway Jr., who I also love, center Dwight Powell. Andrew Wiggins has to be involved in any trade simply because of the dollar. Now, this trade proposal includes both Jordan Poole and Jonathan Kuminga. That's the only part I don't like about this. James Wiseman has to be included as well, similarly for salary purposes, because Kevin Durant makes $44.1 million. And in any trade, you have to be within, I believe, 75% of the values for it to be greenlit. So you have to have Wiggins and Wiseman included. I don't want Kuminga and Poole. I think that's giving up too much. But if you give up Jordan Poole or Kuminga and maybe throw in Moody, but you're getting Durant and Seth Curry back, we're talking. We're talking here. I'm listening. And then the Mavericks in this deal get Ben Simmons, who I think would be a great fit for him, actually. I mean, they need defense. It would be an extra ball handler besides Luka. This would be a win-win to me. As long as you don't throw in the pool party and Jonathan Kuminga, it's a win-win for me. So, and Francis Clome, who writes, KD is not coming back, y'all. I would not be sure. I don't think it's going to. Just to be clear, I don't think it's going to happen, okay? But it would not surprise me just for the simple reason that, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Joe Lacob loves Kevin Durant. If it were up to Joe Lacob alone, this trade's going to happen, okay? Plain and simple. But clearly he has a GM in Bob Myers, and, you know, he thankfully consults with his coaching staff regularly. By the way, peace out, Leandro Barbosa, man. That one hurt. Mike Brown's, I love Leandro Barbosa. He could have elevated to that assistant coaching position spot that Kenny Atkinson has himself created a hole with, because Atkinson took over Mike Brown's top assistant spot. Someone needs to be brought in. And I thought Barbosa would have been fantastic for that. Clearly, Mike Brown agreed because Mike Brown poached him. Best of luck, Leandro Barbosa. I am bummed that he's no longer with the Warriors. And by the way, on a side note, the Big Three is really fun summer basketball, man. It's like the senior tour for me of the NBA. And Barbosa hit a game-winning shot for Rick Barry's Ball Hogs. That's the name of their team. It's awesome. You should go check that out. I recommend it. So anyways, that is the trade proposal that, again, if it's either or, pool party or Kuminga, it would hurt to lose one of them. But I'd be down for that. I could stomach it. I could stomach it more so if it's Jordan Poole, even though I love him. I think his ceiling is not as high as Kuminga's. But Kuminga, again, like for the people that are just really all emphatic and excited about this young core, they're not proven yet. And all right. I see you hate the Mavs as much as I do. I don't hate them. I don't. I use that term sports hate, right? Which is just applies to sports rivalries and whatnot. I apply that to certain teams that really bug me, like the Memphis Grizzlies, for example. But and Ian Mann writes Kuminga unstoppable at some point, maybe. But again, I don't want to take that risk when you're defending a world championship. So that leads us to the final part of the show, and that is going to be free agents. There are some players still out there. Serge Ibaka, at the time of this recording, again, happy 4th of July, everyone. It's 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. And the Warriors are not going to be signing Serge Ibaka, who I thought would have been a fantastic addition. Hall of Famer Rick Barry and I both agreed he would have been perfect as a free agent addition, just because that corner three of his is so lethal that it spaces the floor tremendously, and he's such a great defender that it would have been a seamless fit. But the Warriors, either didn't pursue it or Ibaka did not want to come back. I don't know, but there are still some free agents out there. TJ Warren is like the biggest name still remaining that I think would be a fantastic fit, because he fits that Otto Porter Jr. role perfectly. Similar background, similar like almost crazy narrative type stories where they lost years of their careers because of foot injuries or leg injuries. Warren, since he was amazing in the bubble, and since then he played a total of 4 games. That's it. He underwent season-ending surgery to repair a stress fracture in his foot in January of 2021. That was a year and a half ago. I would love him on the Warriors, and I do hope they consider that. Montrezl Harrell would not be a bad backup center, because the thing to remember about James Wiseman when we talk about unproven youngsters, I mean, Wiseman fits the bill. Maybe he's going to be amazing. I'm more worried about the health thing. If he's healthy, then who cares about a backup center? You got Wiseman, but I wouldn't mind the insurance of having another big, especially since Bjelica left and they did not replace his size either. I mean, the Warriors basically had 3 bigs on the roster last year: Looney, Wiseman, Bjelica. That's it. And Wiseman didn't play the whole year, so you just had Looney and Bjelica. Bjelica went to Europe, so now all you have is Wiseman. Well, now all you have is Looney, and hopefully Wiseman if he's healthy. I'd like to have one more big on that roster. They're short one big. And Montrezl Harrell would fit that. I think he's a high energy guy. He's, when he gets minutes, he produces. I would not mind that addition at all. Dwight Howard is still available. Again, he's not a defensive liability. He's got world championship pedigree. He's a future Hall of Famer. For 10, 15 minutes a night, would love that. You could also mentor Wiseman a little bit too, maybe. Carmelo Anthony is a player that Larry Krueger and I on Friday's show talked about. We both agree that he could be a fantastic fit for this Golden State Warriors team. If Carmelo's looking for a ring, this is the situation. Now, for those of you that are going to state the obvious, right? Like he's a defensive liability. He's a super ISO type player. That is where the coaching staff will come in and help tremendously. By the way, Horace Williams Jr. writes, Harrell has legal issues. I'm not too worried about that. It's possession of marijuana. It was in Kentucky. I just do weed things just don't scare me off. I think he's going to be fine. So yeah, that just doesn't, I don't know. I don't blink at that. I know it was in Kentucky, but something tells me that's going to be fine. But Carmelo Anthony, again, is, if the coaching staff can integrate him into this team and teach him the system, he's 6'8", 240. He's a big boy. He can give you rebounding if he actually tries, which you have to on this Warriors team. He'll give you defense. He's got length. He's obviously an insane offensive threat. So Carmelo Anthony would be awesome. I really do think that. I think that could be like a super wild card. And a couple of the free agents that I'm going to read, I'm going to go to the chat to see if there's any other names in there. I don't know if Blake Griffin would move the needle much. He might have some gas left in that tank. He seems kind of dried up to me, though. Same with LaMarcus Aldridge, slow, old. And talking about legal problems, by the way, Miles Bridges, I think, has some very serious legal problems, restricted free agent for the Hornets. And then another player that I think could be a wild card, which I don't hear his name mentioned much, but I think he could actually do great things for this Warriors team. And that is Rodney Hood, who's 6'8", who can shoot the three. He's very long. He's a proven player. It wasn't that long ago he was getting huge contracts. So I would not mind Rodney Hood. And then we've talked about Tyreke Evans, someone who is not listed on any free agent tracker just because he hasn't played in years, but he almost joined the Warriors last year. He's a former client of Bob Myers when Myers was a player agent. And then some of the names I'm seeing in the chat, Jose Guzman writes Bol. I don't know. It doesn't excite me. Sesquipedalian, I hope I'm getting that right, writes, anyone know anything about Juancho Herman Gomez? Anyone see that movie, by the way, that he started with Adam Sandler? I already forgot the name of it. Was it Hustle? It was okay. I watched it. It was, I didn't feel like, I feel like there's like three reactions to movies. Either it was amazing, it was horrible, or it wasn't the greatest film, but you don't regret the 2 years of your life you missed out on. And I feel like Hustle goes into that third category for me. Let me see any other names. I know, you're right. Hard pass on Harden. I don't blame you. That's just my opinion. But again, I don't think it hurts the Warriors having him to have this 6'11", 7-foot behemoth of a player who does play phenomenal defense. You could use a player like that in the postseason when you're playing a Celtics, when you're playing a Grizzlies. So I wouldn't mind him. Marquise Chris, writes, that's a great question. I don't know if he's a free agent or if I think the Mavericks might have re-signed him. I'm sure just one Google search and you can find that answer. I don't know. I wouldn't mind him. You're right. I wouldn't mind him. He was actually great on the team. And again, AP Prep Boy 33 writes, Melo is not a good fit with the Warriors. You're right. And again, but that's where you have to give some faith to the Warriors coaching staff. A lot of people were hating on Wiggins for very similar reasons. This Warriors coaching staff is fantastic. And I think they can bring out the best in Melo and make him be a good fit. Sandras Rocks. Hello, Sandras. You're right. I like Cousins, meaning DeMarcus Cousins. Same, but I don't think that's going to happen because for some reason, there's something there between Kerr and him. And there's actually something there between Cousins and almost every team where he just rubs people the wrong way. So I don't know if that's going to happen. I would not mind it at all. And if there's any other names here, and this is another one. AP Prep Boy 33 writes, Hassan Whiteside. I wouldn't mind that either. I would not mind that. Again, I just would like insurance on my bench in terms of size. And a player like Hassan Whiteside for 10, 15 minutes a night, I could live with that. I absolutely could live with that. So there we go. And then Marcus Saul is committed to. Ron Alex writes, bring Marcus Saul. I think he's committed to his Spanish club that he part owns as well. So there we go. I think we're done for the day. Happy 4th of July, by the way, everyone. Thanks for putting up with me, being solo. And again, we do this every day. Tomorrow's show, again, I'm really excited for this because Eric Prisbol of who is with Sports Business Journal. He's written some fascinating articles about the Golden State Warriors and their finances. He's going to join me just to find out what's going on with this Warriors ownership. Like, are they being cheap? Are they hurting? Like, are they actually not hitting profit margins? We're going to get some answers tomorrow because I'm curious, and I'm guessing all of you are too. Thank you, as always, for joining me. This is always a pleasure for me. Again, I don't know how today sounded or looked, because I'm at my mom's house in Napa and we're staying here for a little while. But thanks as always. This is always such a pleasure for me. I love all of you. Thank you. I guess except for the haters. You can go F yourselves. But no, I'm just teasing. All right, folks. I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you. And yes, in case I forgot to mention it, they are the defending world champion Golden State Warriors. And let me just finish on this positive note, all right? Because I feel like a lot of people are like just upset with me for being negative. I still think this Warriors team is the favorite to win next year. I just don't like gambling. I if you can get the best team possible put together for a repeat world championship run, isn't that the preference? Like, I just feel like there's a lot of gambling here. Like there's just a lot of risk taking here with the youth that is just unnecessary, right? Like and that just bothers me. Like if I'm upset with the Warriors, it's because I feel like they could do better. So just take my critique for that. And look, I obviously love this ownership group. I do remember the Chris Cohan years. I actually sat in the owner's suite with Chris Cohan for a game one night. He was an interesting character. I never want someone like him back running the Warriors again. So Lake and Gruber, thank you. But look, you guys are rich as you know what. You could have afforded Gary Payton II. And something tells me they might be having some buyer's remorse given the reaction, but yeah, so that's where my complaints are coming from. But I still do think still think this Warriors team is a favorite. I mean, don't get me wrong on that, but it's just they went from being the overwhelming favorite to now I'm like, ugh, it's gonna be tough. But there's still some free agents out there, so I could start feeling better about certain things. And Patrick Beverley, by the way, for those of you wondering, in case you're hoping that he might get bought out by the Jazz, possibility. But none of those decisions will be made until after July 6th. That is when the moratorium is lifted on negotiations and contracts are formally signed. And then at that point, we'll see if Pat Bev could be a possibility. I would love that. I will not publish that, haha, but I see it. All right, folks. Thank you, everyone. As always, I'll be back tomorrow. And take care. Happy 4th of July, everyone. Later.